10 times NBA players fought outside the NBA. Fights have been a part of basketball ever since the inception of the sport, but some of the most interesting confrontations come when players are nowhere near the court. NBA players have had a knack for getting into some weird situations with other NBA folks. Here are 10 times NBA players fought outside the NBA. If you're a subscriber, well, welcome back. But if you're new to this channel, make sure to click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our engaging videos and use that trigger finger by smashing that like button. Now, let's get into it. Number 10, Carmelo Anthony waits for Kevin Garnett. After a particularly rough and tumble game with the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks ended up simply with another loss. But there grew a beef between Carmelo Anthony and Kevin Garnett. During the game, the two of them ended up getting into a shoving match, shouted at each other a bit, and each earned a technical foul. Normally, that would be that, but Carmelo wasn't having it. Instead, after the game ended, Anthony first attempted to seek Garnett out at the Celtics locker room, but he failed to get to KG. Eventually, Anthony decided to wander over to the Celtics bus, hoping that Garnett would come out and have a few words with him, possibly even come to blows. Alas, it ended how pretty much every other NBA beef ends up these days. A lot of hot air, some tempers flaring, and a whole lot of nothing. It was strange nonetheless. Number 9, Shaq versus Kobe. You can't talk NBA feuds without mentioning Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. The two just couldn't get along when they were together on the Lakers. Initially, a lot of the blame was placed on Kobe for the two breaking up, but over the years, a bit has shifted over onto Shaq. However, as the months and years passed by, the two would continue to lob insults at each other, with it never really amounting to anything on the court. After Shaq won his 4th NBA championship and his first without Kobe, he was recorded giving out his now infamous freestyle, taking shots at the pitifully 3-ringed Kobe. Number 8, Chris Mills fights Bonzi Wells. In an incident that showed us what Carmelo Anthony's tracking down Kevin Garnett could have amounted to, Chris Mills sought out Bonzi Wells after a game in 2002. What went down was downright crazy. It all started during a game between the Golden State Warriors and Portland Trailblazers as Mills threw a punch at Wells during a brawl that started after the final buzzer. Like Anthony, Mills went to find Wells in the visiting locker room, but he was restrained from getting in and continuing the fight. Instead of leaving it all at that, Mills found Portland's team bus and parked his car in front of it. He and some of his friends got out of the car and challenged the Blazers to another fight while they were trying to leave. Mills was suspended for 3 games. Number 7, Latrell Spreewell gets grabby. We all know that Latrell Spreewell is a weird dude in general, but he took his weirdness to an entirely different level in 1997 when he had one of the NBA's most infamous confrontations with PJ Carlesimo. Spreewell, a budding star player at the time, was tired of Carlesimo's constant nagging, and the incident reportedly broke out after Carlesimo told him to put a little mustard on a pass. Latrell decided the only course of action from there would be to choke the living daylights out of Carlesimo. After teammates split the two up, Spreewell left, only to return 15 minutes later threatening to kill the head coach. Spree was suspended a total of 68 games, costing him more than $6 million and a shoe deal with Converse. Number 6, Zach Randolph versus Kendrick Perkins. Sometimes, two big angry dudes are going to end up in a scuffle. It's impossible to avoid when two tempers flare. That's just what happened when Zach Randolph and Kendrick Perkins got themselves ejected from a game. The two were jawing at each other from across the lane during a free throw. Perkins threatening to meet Randolph at the bus after the game, and Randolph responding justly, "I'll beat your ass." After both were ejected, Perkins strangely sprinted off the court into the hallway, where he and Randolph eventually went on to get a bit more physical. Nothing really ever came of this whole ordeal. The strangest part was just how quickly and violently the entire thing escalated. Number 5, Drazen Petrovic and Vlade Divac. While some of these others can be marked down as legitimately hilarious or just groan-worthy confrontations, the falling out between Vlade Divac and Drazen Petrovic was just downright sad. Petrovic and Divac were both members of the Yugoslavia national basketball team that took Eastern Europe by storm and propelled them to the front of the national stage. While Divac was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers in 1989, Petrovic's rights were owned by the Portland Trailblazers. The two were great friends who helped each other cope with the transition into the NBA. Once civil war broke out in Yugoslavia, however, their friendship began to weaken. Petrovic was Croatian, while Divac is a Serb, putting them on opposite sides of the battle. Even though both were playing basketball in the United States, they could feel the pressure from back home. They drifted apart and were openly cold to each other. all up until Petrovic's untimely death in 1993. Number 4. Kwame Brown, Ronnie Turioff, Lamar Odom, and a birthday cake. Kwame Brown, Ronnie Turioff, and Lamar Odom all incidentally came across a man holding a 2x2-foot cake just before 2 a.m. The man asked Turioff if he would take a picture with him and the cake, and Turioff happily obliged. I mean, when there's cake involved, you've got to do whatever possible to get a piece of that. However, Brown, probably upset that the man wasn't offering him any cake, took the cake from the man, threw it at him, and left. The man then walked up to Lamar Odom, who was leaving a pizza place, and confronted him about the cake. Odom's bodyguard then pushed him into the street. No charges were filed, but I'm sure this dude is never going to carry a huge cake around Los Angeles again after something like that happened. Number 3. Isaiah Thomas's Dream Team exclusion. Instead of being remembered as one of the 12 members of the greatest team ever assembled, he got to watch as the Olympic team with the likes of Christian Laettner, a rarely used John Stockton, and a nearly crippled Larry Bird took home the gold. The reason? Michael Jordan didn't like it very much. Not only had the two feuded and openly detested each other for the past few seasons, but Jordan and teammate Scottie Pippen also didn't want Thomas to come along. One of the rumored stipulations about Jordan playing for the team was that Thomas had to be excluded, which he was. If you're going to choose between the two, that's the right choice, but to deny that Thomas was one of the top 12 players in the league at the time is downright insane. Number 2. The Gilbert Arenas Javaris Crittenden duel. Back in 2009, on Christmas Eve no less, Gilbert Arenas was arguing with teammate Javaris Crittenden about a gambling debt Arenas owed Crittenden. Arenas pulled a gun first, but Crittenden quickly produced a pistol of his own. Needless to say, this did not go over well with ownership, nor did it please David Stern to hear that there were guys threatening to shoot each other in locker rooms. After both players were given a leave of absence while the team and the league investigated the incident, they were eventually suspended for the remainder of the season. Number 1. Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone SmackDown. Anytime you can see Dennis Rodman teaming up with the NWO and fighting alongside Hulk Hogan against Karl Malone and Diamond Dallas Page in a fight for the sanctity of the WCW, you've got to take a step back and evaluate what's going on. It was infinite hype from either side, paired with two of the most recognizable figures in both wrestling and basketball in what amounted to the weirdest off-court battle between NBA players that the league has ever seen. If anything, it seems to have showed us that Rodman really missed his calling. He easily could have been one of the biggest heels in wrestling history if he had chosen a different path. Which among these moments are familiar to you? Let us know in the comments section below. And hey, if you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and to subscribe to our channel so we can continue giving you the best contents. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.